You're listening to Talking Elvis with Vince Wright and Ian Gray.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Talking Elvis. I'm Vince Wright.
I'm Ian Gray.
He's Ian Gray. He's here with me again.
I'm back in our house.
Back in our house, yes. We flew all the way to our house and went to our house, didn't we? So we're up for episode 4, but it's part 2.
Yeah, we've got a two-parter. We didn't quite do, did we? Next time on Talking Elvis.
Yeah. So now we'll have to go previously on, right? Previously on last week, what have we done? We had an interview with the main man.
With Henrik Knudsen of the Memphis Mansion in Randers in Denmark. Yeah, that was really good fun, actually. So if you go back to have a listen to episode 3, you'll be able to hear that.
And we had some nice comments about that. So thank you, Facebookers and whatnots and emailers, that you enjoyed that. And we've heard from the man himself, haven't we?
Yeah, indeed. Henrik's been in touch to me today. Thank you very much for promoting him, and we'll continue to do so.
Excellent. Yeah. So what we got there is we did the interview with the main man. On today's show, we want to sort of tell you about our little adventure of getting there and going around the museum. And by the end of today, you should be online booking your tickets.
But before we go to the museum, of course, we kept a little bit of an audio starting at Stansted Airport and just following the adventures of Vince and Ian on tour. Well, good afternoon, listener. We are here at Stansted Airport on our way to Aarhus, where we're going to get a connecting bus over to Randers in Denmark to go and see Henrik Knudsen at the Memphis Mansion. So we're standing here at the pub in Stansted Airport, and any minute now we're going to hear Vince Wright complaining to his bank that he can't use his new card. There we go. And you know what? If they don't sort this out, I'm going to get this for the next 5 hours. Anyway, check in soon. Bye. Okay, so we've got off the plane. We're in Randers. No, we're not. We're in Aarhus.
Aarhus at 5:30 in the evening.
And then we're off to Randers. We managed to get our bus, which is going to take us like about 45-50 minutes.
Good job we landed early. So we've managed to get the direct bus.
Excellent. So on the plane, right, I had an Elvis moment, so we're here to see Elvis. Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Here's the thing, right? I was watching the first ever episode of Star Trek with Jeffrey Hunter as the captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah, the proper one, yeah,
right, okay? And then about 5 minutes into it, who should come up and give him a report to sign?
Can't remember.
Laurel Goodwin.
Yes.
Laurel Goodwin, who was in...
Tickle Me.
No, Girls.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't Stella Stevens, she was Laurel Goodwin.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I've had an Elvis moment even before I touched down in Denmark.
Oh, brilliant. Do you know, I was thinking of what's her name in Tickle Me?
You were thinking...
Jocelyn Lang.
No. You were thinking Yvonne Craig.
No.
She was in an episode of Star Trek.
She wasn't in Tickle Me.
No, she wasn't. No.
It's the other one. Well, never mind. It's great.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, so I've had an Elvis moment before I even set foot in Denmark. So here we go. Welcome to Denmark, and we'll be back. Right then, here we are outside Graceland, Randers. What's first impressions?
It's raining.
It's not raining, you girl. Lovely day. It's a bit windy.
Right.
It's a bit cold.
You drive past it first before you come into the gate to get in. We've gone through the gates.
We've gone through the Graceland gates.
We've passed the Tupelo shack and a statue, and we've only just got out of the car.
And we've got lions.
We've got lions.
It looks pretty impressive, actually, to be fair.
It was very impressive from the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice copy.
Okay, let's go and have a walk round.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, all good to go.
Yeah?
Yeah, go for it.
Our version of Graceland, our Memphis Mansion, and you guys have been there, so you probably already noticed our Graceland is actually nearly twice as big, square meters wise, than Graceland in Memphis. And there's no specific reason for that other than we needed the place. We needed the space.
We needed
we needed to have a restaurant, and we needed to have a merchandise store. And as you probably know, where we have our merchandise store was where Elvis had his dining room.
Yeah.
And that was a dining table with 6 chairs. So it's actually not a big... It's big for us three probably, but You know, a lot of people think that Elvis, because of being the king of rock and roll, he must have lived in a big castle. And he actually did.
I was surprised how small it was when I went. Yeah,
exactly. But we stretched it a little bit, and I kind of think that we came out of that okay. You know, if you really look at the details, you can see where we cheated to make it happen, and. But we did that to have the museum. In the basement where we are right now, we have the museum. And the museum is built around my collection. I've been collecting for hardcore for 30 years.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and my exhibition, my collection, sorry, and not because it's important, but just so people kind of understand what it is that we are, in what kind of environment we are.
When you started to collect, did you have any idea you would be one day putting them on show for everybody like this?
No. Never knew that.
Yeah.
But my collection is insured for a little over £1 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And I spend all my time, all my money on collecting. You know, it's obviously, you know, you don't make that much money in a regular lifetime that you can just spend it like that. But I always collected, and I've also been very, very blessed in a way that people have donated me stuff. Some of the people who work for Elvis gave me stuff, and a lot of auctions have been visited. One of my pieces is the tape that you see right there, which was recorded on December the 4th, 1956, when Elvis hang out with Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash.
This is the original tape.
This is the original tape. This is the, as far as we know, the only surviving tape that came from Jerry Lee Lewis's collection.
Oh wow! Okay.
And that's kind of unique in a way. It's funny when you look at the tape; it has like an old record label. A sticker on it. It was actually, you see, the Memphis Recording Service was actually made for vinyl. So they put it on the tape, and
where did you get that from? I know you said Jerry Lee Lewis collection.
I got it. It comes from Jerry Lee Lewis collection, and Jerry Lee Lewis kind of sold it back in the day to Joan Deary, the RCA producer, and then it came to Ernst Jorgensen, and he traded. I got another tape in that he really, really wanted, and I didn't want to sell. And that's all the master recording from Sun that Sam did when he sold the contract to RCA. That tape disappeared, and I found it in Holland in a private collection. And Ernst really, really wanted that tape, and I didn't want to sell it, so he came up with a good check. I have another guitar over here that Elvis played in the late 70s that I bought for that money. And I also wanted something to put on display here, so he gave me the tape box and the tape for the $1 Million Quartet.
Is that then the versions that we hear? They've used the master off your
already.
Your tape?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, great.
There you go.
Yeah.
Make it much more authentic.
So that's kind of neat to have. It is what I normally say, rock and roll history, right out of Memphis Mansion. I'm very proud to have the box and the cassette here at Memphis Mansion, because it's not only Elvis, it's also the other legends, and a lot of Sam Phillips,
the original supergroup.
And what I have here that some people sometimes say, what kind of junk is it you have here? I actually got out of the garage of Sam Phillips' house. I met with Jerry Phillips, Sam Phillips' son, at his father's first house. They have all the houses they lived in. That's funny. They really own all the
Oh wow.
Not his childhood home in Florence, Alabama, but every house they owned in Memphis, they still own. So anyway, we were out to one of those houses, and in the garage there was this old equipment, radio and recording gear from Sun Studio in Memphis. And I said, what are you going to do with that? Oh, it's old junk, we need to throw it out. I said, throw it out? Are you kidding me? You know, it needs to come to Denmark.
Ship it to Denmark.
It cost a fortune to ship to Denmark. And it looked like crap when I got it, but I had a good friend who cleaned it all. And I know some of it doesn't look clean, it's just rusty. But it was a lot worth it when it came here, because it's been standing there for years and years.
60-something years old, so there you go.
Exactly. So we're very proud to have stuff like that.
What it could have recorded.
Yeah, exactly. Are you kidding me? Yeah. No, I know that. So also down here we have a picture that I'm all, more or less always mentioning this picture when I do my talks here at the museum. It's taken in the summer of 1960, and Scandinavian Airlines had made their first direct flight from Stockholm to Los Angeles, and on that flight was the 3 Scandinavian princesses. What you see on the picture to the left is back then, she's today our queen, back then she was our crown prince. The lady in the middle is the Norwegian princess Astrid, and to the right is the Swedish princess Margareta.
Wow.
And they were on that direct flight.
King of the Queen.
And on that trip they were visiting Paramount Pictures, where young Elvis Presley was making a movie that became G.I. Blues. G.I. Blues is, of course, a movie. We all know that. I hope that is a story about an American soldier that was based in Germany. And as we know, actually that was very easy for Elvis to play that role, because just a few months prior to this, he came back from Germany, being stationed as a soldier. So normally when I'm at this point, I say this is where the Queen met the King.
That's remarkable. Knowing that little bit of history is just
Love it. That's excellent.
Fantastic.
So,
Let's put a link to Denmark now, hasn't it? It's put.
Yeah.
It's put it up. It's made the connection.
Yeah.
Join the dots.
It's Denmark's Presswick, isn't it?
Yes.
yeah, it is.
Elvis in the UK.
Yeah, we latch on to that.
Yeah. Have you been to Presswick?
Not yet, no.
It's next on the list.
I want to go there. Actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was only there for how many hours?
Yeah,
A couple of hours, yeah.
I'll just go and see the plaque and come back out.
Yeah, exactly. In here, we call it the garage. I have a 1964 Lincoln Continental that actually Elvis bought it brand new in 1964. He had it for 10 years, and then he gave it away to... and this is what makes it so remarkable, because when you look at the cars that Elvis bought, we don't know exactly how many cars he bought in his lifetime, but he probably bought between 300 and 400 cars, and most of them he just gave away, like, I don't know what. But this car is remarkable in a lot of ways. It was also a gift. He had it for 10 years. And in 1974, he gives it to J.D. Sumner, who Elvis was a lifelong fan of, even before he hired him to be part of his entourage. When Elvis was a teenager, as you probably know, Elvis was a big fan. He went to all of his shows. And there had been a time frame where Elvis didn't show up for these shows when he was a teenager. And next time he came back, J.D. Sumner said, "Hey, where have you been? Do you have problems with your family, or have you lost your faith, or what is it?" And Elvis said, "No, I don't have the money to come see your shows." And J.D. Sumner said to Elvis when he was only 13 years old, "Next time you have problems, come to the backstage door and I will let you in."
I did not know that until I came here.
No. So actually Elvis never forgot that he did that to him as a kid. So J.D. was a lot older than Elvis. So in 1971 he hires J.D. Sumner to be part of his entourage. And as we all know, they were together for the rest of Elvis's life. Actually, in 1958, Elvis hires J.D. Sumner to come sing for his mother's funeral. Elvis, as you know, lost his mother in 1958, August the 14th, and he sang at her funeral. That's not the only Presley funeral that he sang to. I'm now pointing at the white tuxedo hanging over in the corner here, and J.D. Sumner was wearing that tuxedo August the 18th, 1977, when he sang to Elvis's funeral.
Wow.
So the car is special as it is, but because of the connection with J.D. Sumner, it's just priceless. You cannot.
Incredible, huh?
I love talking about it because it gives me goosebumps that he will remember what happened to him as a kid. And
how did you acquire this?
The car has been at J.D. Sumner actually first put it on loan to a guy in Pigeon Forge in the Smoky Mountains. His name was Mike Moon. He had the first Elvis museum in the world. It's open in the Smoky, not far from Dollywood, actually.
Okay.
And Mike Moon died a few years ago, and his kids approached me and said, "Hey, we have this car. Are you interested in buying the car?" So I said yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that's why we have the car.
Did you have to restore it or anything?
No, everything is
just
fine.
cleaning it up
It's working, and we actually just washed it and then put it down here.
It's a working vehicle, so you rip around the grounds here in Randers.
I don't, because we're down in the basement, and we actually had to take it down with a crane just to get it here. So I'm not. I had 2 days where I could drive the car, and it was amazing. It was like sitting in your living room driving a car, and
superb.
And thinking that Elvis has cruised around in it gave me goosebumps.
Wow.
It's a V8 engine, so it's amazing. Has a lot of power, and it doesn't run that far per liters. It's a pretty expensive.
A gallon coming off the drive.
That's it. 3 foot to the gallon.
So everything we are fighting with today. With air pollution is because of Elvis,
all of his vehicles. Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Elvis.
We have thousands of items, silly little things, and some of the stuff I got that I don't think is that silly is something that I got from Priscilla. She was wearing this clothing in the late 60s and early 70s. Priscilla also gave me the script for the TV show Elvis and Me, which became
that's the original
script signed to me from Priscilla Presley, and I'm very pleased to have that in my collection. There's another thing over here. I listen to all sorts of music. I like heavy metal. I like jazz. I like classic. I like all sorts. Pop.
Everybody should.
Yeah. But I have another guy that I nearly like as much as Elvis, and that's Bob Dylan. I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan and have been all my life. In 1962, 1962, of course, Bob Dylan wrote a song to his hero in Memphis, a song that he called Tomorrow's a Long Time. He made his own private recording of it in his apartment in New York in 1962. This is an acetate. And of that private recording, he sent off to Graceland in high hopes that Elvis would listen to the tape or to the song and maybe record it. And as we all know, Elvis did that 4 years later in 1966, which was a big positive surprise for Bob Dylan and his financial situation.
I always consider,
to say the least.
I consider that the real comeback. I think when he did that session with things like this, that was the turning point, wasn't it? That was you're aware of the 60s, that you knew what was contemporary, and that for me, I'm excited about that because that was a turning point.
Yeah, that was great stuff. Very good stuff. And by the way, Bob Dylan actually many times mentioned in his press interviews that he now he could stop his career because he have experienced everything.
That's it.
Luckily for us, he didn't do that. But let me show you something else that I think because it took me forever to find these, and that's the two dolls here.
I love this.
Because
I love this. I've never seen these anywhere.
It's really amazing, when our today Queen met Elvis. It was while filming GI Blues. And these dolls was in the movie. The dolls are made by Bob Baker, who is a puppeteer. He's died now. He's passed now, but he's a legend. He have done effects in hundreds of movies in Hollywood, and also for this movie, he made the dolls. And actually, I only have the two dolls. I have the soldier, and I have the girl's father. The girl I missed. When I bought the dolls, I actually paid for the little soldier there. I paid about $5,000 for him.
Yeah.
And I paid about $12,000 for him. And when I wanted to have the girl, who was probably the most important of the three dolls, I jumped off the auction with $50,000, and she left for far more than that. So that was a lot of money involved, but I'm still pleased to have these.
These are authentic movie stars, aren't they?
It is, and everybody knows them when I mention them, right? And but what I do a lot here, I talk about Wooden Heart, and I also talk a lot about Musiden, of course, because Wooden Heart was the American kind of title, and over here, Musiden, because of the German, it became a huge hit. But what I wanted to say was, it's not only that they met our queen, but they also the first time the the Danish teenagers was introduced to Elvis on TV, was on a Danish TV program called Pladeparaden. Probably doesn't say a thing to you, but it's like a record parade.
Okay.
The guy who did the show is a very big Danish TV personality. His name is Otto Leisner, and when he introduced Elvis to the Danish teenagers for the first time on Danish TV, was with these two dolls, Elvis singing "Wooden Heart" or "Musi Den." It's up to you. You can decide. So for me, it means a lot to have them. And another thing I want to say about them, when I saw them in Los Angeles, I wasn't aware that they were so tall. I didn't expect them to be that big,
Because you expected it to be sort of like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I was happy that I met Bob Baker. Years and years ago, and he told us that Elvis was afraid of the dolls. He thought they were very lively. He was like, "This is too scary."
It's like people with clowns, I guess.
Exactly. So
we remarked on these because we've walked around the museum before coming to see you just there, and these stood out for us, didn't they?
It stopped us in our tracks.
Yeah.
It's something we've never talked about or thought about, to know that they're out there, and knowing that the girl one's out there. Okay, it went for a lot, but it's out there as well, isn't it?
But I'm happy to have the two.
Yeah,
to be honest,
yeah.
Would I love to have the girl?
I think having the soldier is the winner because it's GI Blues.
Yeah, sure. No, but it's something that a lot of people can relate to, because a lot of people, know this song. They have seen it on YouTube, they know the dolls, and like you say, they are kind of movie stars themselves, right? Yeah. In a way, they are. Yeah. This is Henrik Knudsen from the Memphis Mansion in Randers, Denmark, and you are listening to the Talking Elvis podcast. The Gibson Dove, I'm pretty pleased to have in the collection that Elvis wears in the concert, plays in the concerts in the 70s, and there's a shot here where you see Elvis having the guitar around his neck. It's pretty amazing. Elvis ends up giving it away to a fan after a concert, and in 2003 I buy it in Hollywood at a big, huge auction, and I paid a little over $100,000 for it.
Okay, wow, that's quite something. But there again, it's Elvis played that, and you can't. There's no mistake. You can't get away from that.
No,
can you?
It's, nothing.
It's just remarkable,
right?
remarkable.
No.
Absolutely amazing.
This one, also, I have to mention, and that's the leather suit, not from the '68 comeback, but that Elvis wears in August 1974. It's called the Emperor suit. And Elvis actually only wore it one time at show. It was way too hot, and you can imagine that when you look at it. It was way too hot for him to wear at shows, but he was happy with the suit. It's made by North Beach Leathers, that was famous for making leather works for the Rolling Stones. A lot of rock and roll bands in the 70s was buying clothing from North Beach Leathers.
Always strikes me about Elvis's outfits from the 70s, and we saw this at the Elvis O2 exhibition as well with the jumpsuits, that they're actually smaller than you think Elvis would have been.
Exactly.
Slimmer.
Yeah.
Because
I'm happy you're mentioning that.
He was a tall man, so he wasn't just a fat figure in the 70s.
Exactly.
Otherwise, he was a fit, toned individual.
But you know what? That's the biggest mistake
Yes,
in the Elvis history is that everybody think he was a big heavy guy like myself, but he wasn't.
No.
He now we're talking centimeters, and I don't know how that ruined your radio show here, but he
People will adapt.
Yeah, he was 1 meter and 82 centimeters high, and his normal weight was 65 kilos.
That's remarkable.
In up to 1974, he's 65 kilos.
Wow.
When Elvis dies, he's
really
88 kilos.
Yeah.
And people think he was, again, I know we're talking kilos and not stones and whatever you have in England, but people thought he was 120 kilos or 110 kilos, and he was not even near that. And this suit kind of proves that. He also wears the suit when he meets Tom Jones on stage in Vegas, where he jumped on stage and showed Tom Jones how to do karate and stuff. So it's pretty neat to have, and it's probably the most expensive piece we have at the museum. We had to pay a little over 1 million kroner to get this piece at our museum.
Yeah. So that'd be about £100,000, give or take.
A little more. Little more. But let me show you something else that kind of goes down the line of this. If you look at this shirt here, and I know the listeners can't look, but what I have here is pretty amazing. The shirt that I have here, Elvis is wearing on August the 16th, 1977. When he get home from the dentist that he was visiting after midnight, he came home.
Yeah, it's about 2 in the morning or something.
A little earlier than that.
I
think he drives in through the gate around 0035 or something like that.
Yeah.
But under the sweatsuit that he's wearing that shirt. That's the day he dies. That's not a guy that is 110 or 120 kilos. This is not a heavy guy like myself. This is actually a skinny guy. And it kind of illustrates, and for me it's not important if Elvis was Pavarotti big or Cliff Richard skinny. It doesn't matter to me because he's just the biggest. He's the biggest entertainer. He sold a lot of records. So it's not for me like I'm preaching his weight or anything, but it's just fascinating because a lot of people think he was very heavy. And why do they think that? And I don't blame them, because Elvis had, a lot of problems with his body. Yep. He had a lot of fluid in his body. He get what we call moon face. When you take a lot of medicines, your face kind of changes structure a little bit, and that make him from time to time look a lot bigger than he was in real life.
I think we watched in concert, didn't we, the other day, and we were watching it quite critically and saw, hang on, he's a really skinny guy in that scene, but singing that song, he looks twice the guy, and it can't be, but it must just be it was 2 nights later.
But the thing is, he changed from day to day. He looked different, in 2 days, and on the third day he was back to normal or what have you. So, but is it important? No, it's not important. But what it should tell us is that, hey, Elvis was not feeling too good the last few years of his life. He wasn't living a healthy life, and that you will not survive not doing that.
You can't yo-yo like that, can you?
No. Can we just take you back to another item around the corner?
Yeah, sure.
The cufflinks that were presented to Elvis by President Nixon.
Yes, that's a funny piece.
Now, I'm very into my sort of American history and presidents and stuff like this. And this fascinates me, because even with the Elvis and the President movie with Michael Shannon, when I see something like this, I just want to go, how on earth have you got your hands on that?
Yeah, well, that's a very good story. The thing is that when Elvis met Nixon, he had a lot of gifts with him. He also had a gun that he wanted to present the president, but he was not allowed to bring the gun to the Oval Office. So he had to leave that, and he was a little bit pissed. Because of that, because he was really happy. It was, special.
Nobody ever said no to Elvis, did they?
No, he was not used for that kind of. So he had to leave that. He left a few pictures of his daughter and family to the president, and they talked for a little bit. And kind of Nixon wanted to tell Elvis, "Okay, calm down. We really appreciate you here." And he gave him a set of cufflinks. And as you know, Sonny West and Jerry Schilling was in the room as well. So when Elvis got a pair, he said to the president, "What about my friends here?" You don't think that's he talked to the president like he was talking to his neighbor, right? He said, "What about my friends? You don't have anything for them?" And he went behind his office and took the drawers out and brought them too. And actually, so I got this from Sonny West.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Who was there, who was present. Funny story was that when the president took another 2 sets of cufflinks out, Elvis said, "What about their wives?"
Oh.
So the president had to go back again and find some scarves that they could bring home to the wife. Elvis was very, he was Elvis, and he got away with it. But to have what is very neat with the cufflinks is on the back side, you can't really see it here. It has Nixon's signature.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it was when you got it personally from him. It had the signature on the background.
Jesus,
on the back on the.
So of all this collection, Henrik, Your favourite? What do you think? Was it the suit? Was it the puppets?
The suit, I'm pretty happy with the suit, but I'm more like everything, you know.
Yeah,
I actually also like little knickknacks
why
and
wouldn't
stuff
you be?
like, you know, I got this recently, the backstage pass for Dr. Nick's son, Dean, and it's all faded, as you can see, but but it's still authentic, and I freaking love it. You know, I like all kind of things. But let me show you something down here. Because I actually very often get that question, what do I appreciate the most? And the bass right here is definitely in top 5. And the bass I actually got donated. I was doing a tour in Denmark with the boys behind Elvis, photographed behind Elvis here, the Memphis boys, and we were doing a tour for 10 shows in Denmark. I hooked the band up with Danish acts, and we played 10 cities. After playing in Randers, I took them down to my museum that was at a different location at the time. And Mike Leach, the bass player, was pretty impressed that there was an Elvis museum in Denmark. He said, Henrik, I know there's one in Memphis, Tennessee. I know, that there's one in Tupelo, Mississippi. But he wasn't aware that there was a museum in Denmark. And not even in a city that he couldn't pronounce right, because he wanted to say Reyers, like they say locally. He said Randers, and he's forgiven. You know, he called it Randers, and he's forgiven. And he said to me, Henrik, I have something I want to donate you. I have something I want you to have for your museum. Wow. And I was like a little kid. I was like dying to figure out what he wanted to give to me, but he knew he had me right here. And he said, Henrik, it comes when it comes. It's like Christmas. It took 3 months, and I got a big black leather case, and when I flipped the case, my tears was running down my fat cheeks, because I knew exactly what Mike had given me. He had given me the bass that you see right there, but it's not only that bass that you see right there, it's also the bass that Elvis is holding in his hands right there. And it's a bass that the guys are using when they recorded Kentucky Rain in the Ghetto, Don't Cry Daddy, and one of my favorite songs with the King called Suspicious Minds.
That's amazing.
It's insured for 800,000 kroner. Yeah. And the only thing that Mike said to me, he said, Henrik, the bass is yours, but if you're selling it, don't forget we are partners. Yeah. I don't know what he meant by that.
You know, just looking at that, it sends a little bit of a shiver down my spine with the story you're telling. Yeah.
Sadly, we lost Mike a few years ago, but and the bass is not for sale.
Did you ever have a quick play of it before displaying it?
Somebody had.
Yeah.
I cannot play the bass, but somebody did.
Pretend. You must
I had a picture. I had the picture. Funny thing with the bass is that it looks a little bit different than the one that Elvis is holding in his hands, but that's because
it's faded.
He removed the lacquer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
To have it signed by everybody he played with from 72 until he gave it the bass to me. It's signed by Dolly Parton. It's signed by Kenny Rogers. Oh my God! All the Americans Johnny Cash have signed it. Everybody has signed it.
You have not insured that for enough.
No, I know that. It's probably worth a lot more.
I want it on display backwards now.
Yeah. We want to take a picture of it and put it.
Yes.
So when people can. So here's the autograph, and that's what we want to do.
That's remarkable. I'll tell you what.
We didn't even look, did we?
No, we didn't. We saw it and thought, well, that's good.
Yeah. That was it. That's nice too.
Then we hear the story, you know. But this is a remarkable place, you know. It's
Thank you.
You've really done a job and a half
Thank
here,
you.
and it should be shouted about, and we will shout about it. You know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There is no doubt.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to do that. It's a brilliant place. We love the puppets. We talked about the cufflinks and the shirt on Elvis wearing on the day of his death.
Yeah.
The white sofa. I had to sit at the end. I didn't have a double neck guitar, but I had to sit there.
Ours is covered with leather because we let everybody sit in it. Okay? Yeah. But we have had a lot of bands coming here and take pictures for their albums and stuff. So we have that as well. So.
Oh well, listen, Henry, it's been an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for your time.
No, but thank you guys
really
for coming
appreciated
over.
it.
I really appreciate that you would take your time and fly over.
We're coming. We're definitely.
I should.
We'll be back tomorrow as well.
I'm the one who's thanking you guys. No, I really appreciate it.
I was expecting it to be good, But I don't even think I was ready to go. Oh, if I'm disappointed, it's all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's absolutely blown me away.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, you are far away from Memphis. Elvis was never in Denmark, and you have what you have. And to begin with, I didn't have the car, and I didn't have the shirt, and I didn't have the jumpsuit or the leather suit. So you always have to start somewhere, and then, with the support of visitors coming day in and day out, you make a little more money and you can buy something else. And I also, not only am I a fan and I enjoy it, but I also think it's a privilege and it's important that we preserve what is out there and that we let people watch it.
Excellent. Henrik Knudsen, Memphis Mansion, Randers, Denmark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if you're not going to go to the real Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee, then that wasn't too bad a substitute, was it?
Very good substitute, wasn't it? Really, because
really enjoyed that.
Do you remember when they did the cardboard cutouts at Blackpool, and we had the fan club event? I thought that was all right, but thinking about it now, a bricks and mortar, a lot better.
But at Blackpool, right? Did you get a chance, after the microphones were switched off, to put a TCB necklace around your neck that had been owned by Elvis?
No, but I remember the trams going up and down with the trams that ran somebody over in Coronation Street.
Yeah, they ran Alan Bradley over, didn't they?
That's it, yeah.
It was Rita Fairclough's boyfriend.
Rita Fairclough's boyfriend, yes. That is so true. There's one for the historians. Yes. Oh, dear.
Yeah. Yeah, the old TCB necklace. What was all that about? That's brilliant. I thought Henrik was giving that to us then.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is.
He's a nice man, so I wouldn't put it past him.
And then he walked off, gave it to us, and walked away. And we thought, hello. But this is quality gold, wasn't it? It weighed a ton.
Gold and diamonds, wasn't it? It's the most expensive thing I've ever had in my postcode. Never mind, around my neck.
It was funny because I had an email from a guy, Phil, again. Was telling me about the ones we bought, and I'd forgotten we bought them. We must have bought them at Emsby or something. Your TCB chain must have cost £3, and they were a bit of tin. And he each sent a picture of that, and
tremendous!
Oh God, I've still got that in the cupboard, haven't I? Yeah, I'll have to start wearing that again.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll tell you what. Remember in Octopussy when James Bond, Roger Moore, was at the auction with the Fabergé egg.
Yes.
And he swapped it under the table for the real one. So if you wear yours, next time you go to the Memphis Mansion and have a chat with Henrik, and I'll just say to him, Henrik, just show us that TCB chain again, and then quick sleight of hand and
keep him talking.
There you go. Quick sleight of hand, and you're away with them.
That's it. What's that over there? Is that Lisa Marie? Oh yeah, no.
But what a place! It's Henrik's done a fantastic job there. It's not just a bunch of pictures. It's not just a bunch of made-up cardboard cutouts or imitations. This is actual, real pucker stuff, isn't it? From Elvis himself.
I love that bit the most. That I like. I want to see Elvis jumpsuit, and I want the blonde wig from Kissing Cousins. I need to see all of that. But it was the weird extras that were like above and beyond. When you got a stamps onto a jacket.
Yeah,
and you're going, that's and he said DJ, that's JD. I've got my dyslexic Elvis thing going. When you've got JD's jacket from his touring there, and then the suit that he wore to the funeral, to Elvis's funeral, those were like they're as exciting as the leather jumpsuit of Elvis, aren't they?
They really are, because you also had JD Sumner's car there as well. Which Elvis gave to him, and then it went off to a collector. Then it went off to someone else, and then it ends up in a museum in Randers in Denmark. It's the attention to detail is just on pretty much all of it is astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think how would you compare it to the O2 Elvis Museum we went to in London?
Well, we did have the actual artifacts from the Graceland archive there, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it was just a collection of suits, belts, pictures. We had the stories because you knew it was Elvis's suit because it said so. You knew it was Elvis's belt because it said so. You knew it was like this. But we had story. Every item that you heard in just that tour, just then, Henrik had a story about it.
Yeah, how he got it, where it came from.
And all that, and that's the added magic for me, the added ingredient.
Yeah. I think that was pretty amazing. The $1 Million Quartet piece of tape is probably kind of my, apart from the chain, that was my wow moment, I think.
I forgot to ask him if he'd ever managed to sort of play it, or had he actually heard it?
Yeah.
Has it ever been heard?
So is that the bit that they play? That we've got on the CDs from the $1 Million Quartet? It would be, it would just be there. But I mean, you'd want to preserve that. I mean, that tape would be fairly fragile, wouldn't it?
It would have.
Yeah. It's been kicking around people's cupboards and everything. What would you say is the highlight for you of the tour, of the bits and pieces we saw?
Well, as I said in that tour there, I loved the cufflinks that Richard Nixon gave to. I know they were belonged to it was either Sonny or Jerry Schilling, wasn't it?
Sonny.
It was Sonny West they belonged to, yeah. But even so, I'm very big on my American presidents and stuff like that. So, although not strictly Elvis managed to con those out of the President Nixon to give to his friend, which I absolutely loved.
Yes. It is. I've got to go and watch the Elvis and Nixon film and the Nixon and Elvis film. I've got to watch them both again, haven't we? The good one and the not so good one. Yes.
There's a vast difference, folks.
Yeah. Very easy to watch the wrong one.
Make your own mind up on that one.
I think so. The Dylan promo, that was a bit interesting to see that he got a Dylan connection.
Indeed, yeah.
And tomorrow is a long time.
I wasn't aware that Dylan actually wrote it for Elvis. I thought he just wrote it and Elvis nicked it. That's what I thought.
Well, yeah, I'd not heard that story before, because on the, what do they call it, on the Searcher, they tell a different story, don't they? Yeah. So we weren't there. What do we know? Well, I think we've seen things, we handled things, we got stuck in. I mean, I went loopy over that. What am I going to be like in June when I go to the real one?
I'm going to explode.
They got an ambulance standing by.
Oh man, so you're going to need assistance in and out of the house, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're going to be one that's like at the back of the bus coming up and down the wheelchair ramp.
Oklahoma.
because your knees are gonna go weak.
Yeah.
Them lights, they're gonna feel like the damn ray are right in your eyes and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you're gonna be really, really careful.
It's good though, isn't it? I mean, it's a great place to go to.
Yeah, so quick to get to there from the UK as well. I mean, like I said, we've said in these interviews and whatnot, our flight was an hour and 20 minutes.
And what was it? 39 quid, 49 quid, 39.
It was round about that. Yeah, return.
Yeah. 39 quid return. I mean, you can't get a taxi for that, can you?
No, it's just it's remarkable value and so close and well worth it and very welcoming as well. So Henrik was great. The staff are great. You'll be made to feel quite welcome and at home in Denmark. People speak English. So why aren't you?
And what about the shop? The shop was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, you sometimes see, they sell a couple of brooches and a CD. I could have got very silly in that shop.
He's got all in. He's got all in there. This is the shop that the O2 should have had.
Yeah. Now that's it, because they had a couple of greatest hits and that was it, didn't they?
Oh, it was very poor, wasn't it? Yeah.
This had all the FTDs, all the stuff from all around the world, vinyl, from all around the world, old and new. Yeah. Their own releases.
Yeah.
That was a pretty interesting.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
The Danish singles albums. They look a nice little thing. Didn't buy them at the time, but maybe next time. I think it had something for everybody, and including something for everybody.
I mean, a ton of DVDs, a ton of books, T-shirts featuring the Memphis Mansion logos and various things, and collectibles as well. So if you really wanted to dig deep in those pockets, you could have spent a ton of money on one thing, But Are you drinking tea out of the Memphis Mansion mug as we speak? I have been, yes. It's been put to good use. And I'm wondering now whether I should get back in touch to see if there's an online part of the shop where I can buy his beer as well. So. Oh yes, the beer. We haven't mentioned the beer, have we? Yeah, rock and roll brown ale, for goodness' sake. Rock and roll brown ale in the diner. While you're eating a Lisa Marie burger. Yeah, it was tremendous, wasn't it? We did have a couple, didn't we? Let's face it. So
we did. It was like Nuki Brown, to be honest. It was very nice.
What a lovely collection bottle to have.
It was, and it was the brewery was Vernon Ales, which I never got round to asking if that was coincidental or not.
Right, there's something else. So anyway, next time I go back, I'm going to take a big suitcase, put it in the hold, so I can buy that bottles of beer and bring it home with me.
Yes, I would think we need UK distribution rights for the rock and roll beer, don't we? That's
good. Yeah. How many would get off the distribution table though?
Yeah, well, we're going to have to tell everybody about our virtual pub that's coming up soon as well.
Oh, indeed. That's in episodes to come, folks.
Yes. All good then. So what do you think? We've covered it all. We've got the garden party coming up in...
The 28th of August is the garden party. They've got people like Tish Henley. They've got Charlotte, somebody or other from Speedway, who was also one of the kids. Billy, the Spa guy, Stallings is going. And Dave Hebler is going to be there.
And if you hear the last week's interview, he had some funny things to say there, didn't he?
He really did.
That made it for me, that show last week.
He really did. And the stuff that we talked about that we did record as well, it's like, you got to go and talk to this guy.
Yeah, he's just a normal, interesting fan. Going to the weekend one, I don't look like I can do all of it at the moment, but I'm fingers crossed. I'm going to do the weekend part.
Oh, I'm going to be there. I'm going to stop in one of the upstairs. I haven't told.
Yeah, I think we could get the outside. What is it? We've got the Tupelo shack there.
Shack, yeah.
Well, I'm sure that's where he keeps the mower. But
in August it'll be okay because it'll be warmer, won't it?
Yeah. So we've done it all. We should hopefully be going back. We've told everybody to go.
It's the Memphis Mansion in Randers in Denmark. You can get there by flying from Stansted to Aarhus Airport. You could also go to Copenhagen or Aalborg and drive a little bit further if you wanted to. So it's very, very easy to get to Memphis Mansion, Randers, Denmark.
And what did we say? We found a great pub. What was the good pub?
Oh, Tante Olga.
Tante Olga.
Is like in the town of Yes,
it's like a bit mini beer festival.
Oh, crikey, yeah.
We only had 6 or 7 hours in there, didn't we?
Yeah, that was what they got. 15 different beers, just that you can see, without all the spirits as well.
And we tried them.
We did. We tried quite a few of them, yeah, which was...
There we go. So I think, yes, get on over to Randers. Tell him we sent you.
Indeed, yes.
Price up.
Well, man's got to make a living.
That's right. I think that's all good, don't you? I think we've played that nicely for that one.
Absolutely. Our recommendation cannot be high enough for this place.
Fantastic.
Hi, guys. What's on the show next week?
Well, hasn't she got a lovely voice? What do you think of our new little lady we keep in the cupboard?
If she asks me that question every time, I give her an answer every time.
Oh, excellent. Right, so what have we got in the show next week? Well, next week, you've probably all seen all over Tinterweb about the cinema release of That's the Way It Is.
Oh.
And if you haven't, you should have done.
50 years, eh?
50 years, yeah.
That's the same. That's the same age as me.
But the film's been restored. You're in much worse nick.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, I wish I could get restored.
Yes.
I don't mind that. I just resent paying for it.
Yeah. So, got to see it. I think this is one of those that we're going to have to plug, and even if you don't want to see it, you should go and see it. Everybody on the planet should go and see it, because this is going to be the future of whether we get more releases. We had a bit of a hiccup with the 68 special. Was it cancelled? Wasn't it? And people didn't go. Had a very poor turnout. We need to see cinemas full for this.
Indeed, we do. And the thing is about this movie as well, it is a very, very exciting movie as well, because it's Elvis at his prime. He's what is he, 35 years old, and he just looks spectacular. The music is good. The interaction of Elvis with people on the set is fantastic. Yeah, you've got to see this. It's simple as it's on April the 22nd, showing in cinemas, selected cinemas near you.
So I think we'll have next week's show. We'll dig up as much as we can on that to find out all the facts for you. So I think that's us for another week.
I think so. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much once again for listening.
Are we on the wireless again?
I'm sure we'll be on the wireless. You can find us at www.camfm.co.uk. It's Wednesday at 6 o'clock UK time, but you can listen to the show via that same web address 24 hours a day for the next month as well.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
You're listening to Talking Elvis with Vince Wright and Ian Gray.